Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, I'm joined by Alex Gardner, who does take the cake for the youngest Scoreboard guest participant so far. Alex, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to it.
We're sitting here on Thursday, the 22nd of May, 2025. Alex, how's your morning been? How's your week been? And how's your 2025 started?
Yeah, it's been a pretty good morning. I've been straight to the gym this morning. Did back, biceps, and core, so feeling pretty tired after that. But no, it's been a good week. Really busy, juggling things like uni, obviously all my training. It's definitely keeping me on my feet. Racing is a full-time gig. It can take a lot out of you, especially, but it's something that I enjoy, and it's all part of the challenge, part of the wave that we ride.
Yes, and you are a professional Australian racing car driver. Do you want to give the listeners a bit of an understanding about where you fit in motorsport?
Yep, sure. So basically, yep, I am a professional driver here in Australia. I'm racing a Aston Martin Vantage GT3, which is a pretty cool thing to say. It's a dream come true for me. I'm the youngest in the category by a good 5 or 6 years, I think it can even get up to. So definitely really young, but I've been given the opportunity to do it and essentially just keep chipping away at it. And international endurance racing is my goal.
International endurance racing. Let's go back to the early days, Alex, about where this kind of interest was sparked, the first early memories of driving.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd always loved cars since I was little. I'd watched the Cars movie about 20,000 times. Always had a little coffee table in my living room that I'd run little Hot Wheels cars around. I'd have them in pairs of two, line them up, do simulated races, make them crash. So I just loved it all from a very young age. So that was what initially told, myself and my family that, he's got an interest in it, but, it wasn't professional straight away. That wasn't our goal. They got me a go-kart for like $500 just to go have a little bash around in. And at first I was too young for it. So I just ended up driving it around my driveway. We had a little pole in the middle. So I was doing like a little oval course. But yeah, so I got a go-kart from then, and then it just took off. Really enjoyed it from the start, and then realized I was somewhat good at it. So we decided to pursue it.
Yeah, the enjoyment and being good at it, I think, is a bit of a common theme of some of these athletes at the younger age, where they're like, "Oh, this is fun. Oh, I'm pretty good. Oh, I'll continue." What is it? What about getting in the car at the time then that you thought this is fun? What are the feelings?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's just the adrenaline and the feeling of moving that quickly with other cars like right really close to you. It's really cool. It's hard to describe, to be honest. Even when you're out on your own, it just a lot of drivers, say it feels like flying, and I completely agree with them because you just feel so connected with the car, so one with the car. You're in this flow state. So yeah, that's what I love about it. But yeah, more than anything, I love the feeling of winning. As any main sportsman.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the competitive nature, are you always a bit of a competitive style person? Do you get the Scrabble board out during Cyclone Alfred and sit around and going, right, no one's going to beat me?
We played some Uno for a good 5 hours. Yeah, I definitely get really competitive. It's built into my nature for sure. But I'm lucky a lot of the people I surround myself with are also really competitive, and a lot of them are racing drivers as well themselves. So, but yeah, definitely the competitive nature of my personality seeps into real life more often than not. So I'm just getting used to it.
Now, as a Uno player, what type of strategy do you take? Do you hold your, the collect four, or do you hold your wild cards? What do you do? How do you play it? And do you wait for the reverse quite a bit at the late, or do you go early?
Generally, I get the reverses done early just so I can try and get in everyone else's heads. But yeah, definitely saving the wild cards for the end games. What I find is really good. That's won me more games than I can count. Having one at the end, especially when everyone's got not many cards. If there's someone else on Uno, just give them a cheeky +4, then they aren't very happy with you. So definitely saving them is a big thing for me.
You're a saver, so you're a Uno caller, and everyone's like, "Oh no, I wonder what color he's got," and you go, "Bang, wild card."
That's right. Yeah, definitely like to mess with people there.
There you go. Now, you're only just turned 18 a couple of months ago, and obviously you would have been in a lot of racing prior to this, because to make the where you're at now and racing in Aston Martin's Vantage GT3s, etc. Do you want to talk about some of the balancing act as some people kicking the footy in the 14Ds, mate, on a weekend, but you're not. You're in a car or in a race, and you're going as fast as you possibly can. Do you want to talk about that challenge as a teenager?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really difficult thing to manage. I think, as I touched on before, I'm also a full-time university student, so I'm there 4 days a week doing a dual degree at QUT. So I've definitely got my hands full. But yeah, you combine that with your physical training, like the gym, like I said this morning, or the simulator training, so practicing as much as I can. I like to do that for 1 or 2 hours a day at least. And then all your mental training, because that's a lot more important than what people realize. And then juggling for sponsorships also a big part of motorsport because it's very expensive, one of the most expensive ones out there. So it definitely takes up a lot of your time, but I always still find time to hang out with mates one way or another. And I've got a really good small little group. So yeah, it's been tough, but really good at the same time.
A couple of things I want to talk about there is the study. Firstly, is like the plan B if it doesn't go to plan, etc. Why are you doing that, and the importance of that, and what are you studying?
Yeah, well, it's not so much a plan B as it is just I just like to keep learning. So I'm studying business and industrial design, and they were my two favorite subjects at school. So obviously, yeah, it does work out to be a plan B, but that's not my vision for it. It's just I want to keep myself learning, keep my brain sharp, gaining all this knowledge. It'll help me one way or another, whether I'm racing or not. So definitely that's kind of my thought process with uni. Obviously, motorsport and racing is my priority because that's the only thing I can see myself doing for the next 20 years, hopefully longer. But yeah, if it ever comes to the point where I can juggle both, like be a racing driver and have a business where I design something like that to sell to people, that's a dream scenario as well.
And then the other point you mentioned was about money. I mean, firstly, as a curious bystander, what's the Aston Martin Vantage GT3? How much would that go for?
They're very, pretty pricey. It depends if you get them new or second hand, but they can be anywhere from like 600,000 anywhere to like $1 million. So it's not actually as bad as some people would think, but it is very expensive.
Yep.
And then to run for the season as well, it costs a lot of money. Like we're talking upwards of 300 grand for me to be in the car for all 6 races, which you think, oh geez, that's a lot for only 6 race weekends. But once you get to the track, see the car, see the team, it's like, oh, okay, here's where all the money's going. So yeah, definitely an expensive sport. It's definitely a part of it. It's gotten worse over recent years, but it's just something that we have to all juggle. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah, and then the 6 races, the prize money pool, of the teams, etc., all the payments to you, etc. How does that all work? Is it obviously based on performance? I'd imagine.
So there is no prize money. There is no prize money in generally most forms of motorsport. Some categories have some little rewards when you get pole position in qualifying, so when you're the fastest driver. But generally speaking, what this category is doing for me, the GT World Challenge Australia, is it's essentially showing manufacturers and teams that I'm good enough, because then they will sign me and pay me to then go and race. That's how
Okay.
that essentially
Yep.
works. So yeah, it's
Yep.
not so much like a money reward, but the things you get out of it are pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and then you also touched on the mental aspect being equally as important as the physical aspect, and being so young and somewhat fearless compared to a 44-year-old that would probably, like, for me, going down a cliff or driving a car at pace, I'm like, ah, right?
Hmm.
But in terms of the mental capacity, like, how do you train for that, and what are you training for on the mental side of things?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just as simple as composure and being patient. Especially for me, I'm at the point in my career where I'm searching for the partners and sponsorship to get myself back on the track. But yeah, when you're on the track, it's a lot of composure, especially in the long races. You can have little things go wrong with the car, or there can be times where you're running a different strategy to another driver. Then you get heaps of people passing you. But that's your strategy. Your strategy is to be slow, save the tires, save fuel, whereas they're going 100% attack. And that, even though yeah, look, I'm saving here. It's not a nice feeling having cars flying past you, and just being able to withstand having someone right on your bumper, flashing their lights at you, bumping you into corners. It's just a big mental game where you just got to trust your ability, essentially stay strong, and then the results will all come from that.
In an earlier podcast, I interviewed Paul Roos, who was an AFL Hall of Famer, and he said, I asked him what his traits were, and he called it his superpower of what he did to basically become a really good AFL player. I'm curious to know what your superpower is, Alex, and what people think and look at you and go, "Oh, this kid's good. He's got."
Yeah. I think the main thing that I've been regarded at, even through go-karting, was just how happy I always am at the track. Like similar, like I look up to Daniel Ricciardo, Formula One driver, so much. He's been my favorite for years. Unfortunately, he's not racing anymore, which I'm still not happy about, but that's a topic for another day. Yeah, I think definitely just I always strive to be as happy as I can, because I know that if I'm happier, I'm going to enjoy myself in the car more. I'm going to perform better as well. But I think as well, it's just how hardworking I am. Like you've got to outwork everyone else if you want to be at the top. That's what Lewis Hamilton says that. Like all the greats in Formula One, they all say that. So I think it's a combination of those two, and then just my willingness to learn and just absorb like a sponge as much as I possibly can.
And Alex, when you're working harder than everyone else and you're doing the reps, as they say, what reps are you doing? What is it? Is there a schedule, or is there a whole program that you think, okay, this is something that I'm going to create, or with the help of a team, etc.?
Yeah, so I have got a really good team around me. So I've got a sports psychologist. His name's Stuart Walter. He works with us Athletes Secret Weapon. He's awesome. He's helped me so much with my mental game over the years. And then I also they actually sponsor me. So like there's a gym just down the road from me called Foundations Performance, and I work with Sarah Herbert and Oscar Maraquin from there. They're both incredible. So they essentially give me my gym program. So 6 days a week, one rest day, very intense stuff, mix of strength and cardio. But yeah, essentially it's you just kind of play with it and just learn as much as you can while training, if that makes sense. There's not really a set, like the gym program is set, but then everything else, it's just you just kind of go with the flow, go with what's going on.
Yeah, and what about when it comes to things like if food habits and sleeping habits and little things that are sort of, everyone goes through on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, definitely going to sleep as early as I can, waking up early because I got early starts at uni most days, so leaving well, not early, but leaving the house by like 6:30 or 7:30. So got to get to the gym early, whether I actually get down to the gym or do it in my home gym here. Either way, I'm still doing the workout. But yeah, definitely. Trying to think of what my bedtime is. I don't know if I have a designated bedtime anymore,
You
but
don't have a set
probably
bedtime? It's like 9:30 or something,
yeah.
or a bit earlier?
Well, my parents don't usher me into bed like they used to. But yeah, I'd say around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Around 9:30, 10 o'clock probably when I head to bed.
That strikes home now because my kids are 12, 10 and 8, and yes, I usher them to bedtime. So
Yeah, I
feel
used to
like
get ushered into bed a lot.
when they're 18,
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Dad, stop ushering me to bed. I'm an adult now." Yeah. So
yeah, that's right.
yeah.
I'm pulling that card a lot at the moment. So.
Yeah. The 2025 schedule, what does that look like for you? And I'm not talking about your exam schedule or your assignment schedule. I'm talking about your racing schedule.
Yeah, so it's been tough again this year. We're struggling to get myself back on track. So I haven't actually raced this year yet. I've been in the car several times, done heaps of test days, but unfortunately, I haven't been in the car. So there's been 2 rounds so far this season. One of them was at Phillip Island in Melbourne, which is my personal favourite track. It's absolutely incredible. And then they had Sydney Motorsport Park a few weeks ago. And then the 30th of May, so a couple of weeks, not too long at all, we're racing out at Ipswich here in Queensland. It's the only Queensland race on the calendar. And then next month we got end of month, we're down in Sandown. It's a unique track. They race it at Supercars as well. And then we've got Adelaide and New Zealand towards the end of the year. So yeah, still aiming to get on track for as many of those rounds as I can. Most likely from Sandown onwards, so the final 3 rounds. And I'll potentially be going over to the US. I got invited to compete in the Radical World Finals to represent Australia, which I'm really, really excited for. But again, even though I got invited, there's a financial hit that comes with it. It's yeah, but that's from me winning my championship in 2023. So yeah, that's what it's looking like at the moment. And then there's also a potential for me to run over to Asia at the end of the year as well.
It's funny doing these interviews where I speak to athletes around the sort of the more they progress and the better they become at the sport, it becomes more expensive. It's just a fascinating thing to understand as opposed to the other way around, like where you, I suppose, it's expensive to play sport, but then the better you become, the dollars just come, and you're like, hold on a second, there's a gap here somewhere. And someone, I don't know the solution, by the way. Obviously, sponsorship is, as you mentioned. What are you doing in that sense, and how are you connecting with people to say, hey, I'm out here, come with me, come on the journey?
Yeah, well, I mean, essentially, it kind of is as you get better, you do get more money out of it. But again, yeah, so the better you get, the teams start looking at you, then they pay you to race. So there kind of is
There's a
that,
thing at the end
it
of the
kind of,
thing, but
yeah,
there's a gap in between, right? Yeah.
yeah, there's a big gap in between where you've got to pay your way for several years and get into some academies and things like that. But yeah, I'm just reaching out to as many people as I can. I've got a lot of people that I'm having really good talks with. I've gotten a couple of companies on board as well. But yeah, realistically, just reaching out to as many people as I can in as many different ways as I possibly can. I think I've reached out to a good 450 companies since Christmas. So we've been hitting it pretty hard, having heaps of conversation with people. But obviously, with the way the economy is at the moment, it's been pretty tough for people to, find that extra budget to give away. But a lot of people have said, yeah, look, reach out to us again soon. We'll have something for you. So yeah, they've been really positive conversations, but yeah, things just unfortunately haven't aligned at the moment.
And also in this modern day of age with digital age, you can actually get a whole lot of people following you on Instagram and other different communities and WhatsApp groups. How important is that to you now to show your story, to show the ups and downs, and be honest, I suppose, and have people that buy into you?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. You see a lot of the drivers that have got that big sponsorship backing, they have heaps of followers. So that's what we're building up at the moment. It's been on a strong upward trajectory for a very long time. Yeah, it's hugely important, especially with everything, the way that everything is nowadays. Social media is one of the most important ways of marketing, even.
Mm.
So definitely building up that that presence on those platforms is something which helps most drivers more than people would think.
Yeah, you touched on the tour later on that you've been invited to, the Radical series that you won, and you won here in Australia. You were the youngest, I believe, the youngest driver to win that series at the age of 16. How did that sort of put you into the spotlight? And was it, some cameras and some people talking to you, and you're like, oh, hold on, I'm just a grade 10, grade 11 student?
Yeah, that's essentially how it was. To be fair, yeah. So I'm still with the same team that I was with when I raced the Radicals. So I'm their junior development driver. So the team's called Valente Rosso. They're based in Sydney. But yeah, essentially, it definitely got me a lot of eyes, and the team was then able to talk to manufacturers about me, like obviously Aston Martin being one of them. I've had talks with like Corvette and everything like that as well. So we've had talks with heaps of people, which is really cool. Definitely did get the eyes on me for sure. And then when I jumped straight into the GTs the next year, everyone was really curious as to how I did. And I think I did. I think I did pretty well. Everyone was really shocked about how I was able to handle the car. But yeah, definitely winning it so young. I was young. Yeah, as you say, youngest driver to win a race and championship in world history. So that's really cool. It wasn't just national history. So, and I didn't actually know that until like halfway through the season when I'd already won a couple of races. I looked it up and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize. And as you say, I'm just a kid racing here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I won 9 out of the 12 races that year. And it probably would have been 10, but just a couple of mechanical things that hit you pretty hard. Yeah, phenomenal year though, phenomenal.
And in another podcast I've spoken to, one was Jared Lyons, the former AFL player, and he talked about Chris Fagan as a coach of the Brisbane Lions. And Chris Fagan said, you either win or you learn. Now, you won that race, and you're not going to win every race, and you haven't won every race. What do you take out of races that you don't win, and how do you learn from that? Because you did say learning is one of your underlying values and principles, and that is why you're studying at university, you continue to learn. But how are you absorbing the learning, I suppose, and what do you, when people say, I should do this, should do that, lots of noise and voices, how do you manage all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't just learn when I lose. I learn when I win as well, because there's always things you can do better. Even if you win the race, there's always things you can look at that you do better. So generally speaking, I always look into my, like, obviously, almost obvious one's my driving. I've got the team's co-owner. His name's Josh Hunt. He's my, like, essentially mentor, manager. He's been awesome in me for my career. But yeah, essentially just learning every little bit that I can, whether it be car setup or just the way that I was driving. But it's also good, yeah, on the races that I don't win, I look at small little decisions that I could have made that might have gotten me a couple further places up. Um, so yeah, definitely learning all the time. Even when I win, there's always still things you can learn. Like it's never perfect. Like some people say, "Oh, yeah, you drove the perfect race," and I'm like, "No, I didn't. I locked up a brake into one of the corners, or something little like that over an hour race. You still can do better." So yeah, just picking away at everything.
Are you a perfectionist per se around the fact that if you don't deliver on what you're in your head think that you deliver doesn't happen, that you sort of beat yourself up and you're like, ugh, your head's a bit down and the body language drops a little bit?
I definitely don't beat myself up over it. As you say, one of my strengths is that I am always happy and upbeat. So I don't necessarily let it tear me down, but yeah, a bit of a perfectionist in the way that I just always want to put my best foot forward. Always want to make sure that I drive a good race, show everyone that I can do it, because you don't know how many chances you're going to have in motorsport. One minute you can have a drive, then the next minute you don't. Like it's really last minute and really cutthroat. So yeah, definitely, yeah, a perfectionist in the way that I just want to make sure that I'm showing everyone how good I truly am, and putting my best foot forward always is one of the biggest things for me.
Alex, you also touched on your favourite tracks to race. How much of the atmosphere do you take in, and I suppose how much, like, what makes a favourite track for you?
Yeah, I think to be honest, it's just how the tracks like flow, how they feel to drive is a big thing. So I've actually driven this Sepang Formula One circuit in Malaysia. I drove that when I competed in the Ferrari Driver Academy in 2022. That was probably my favorite track. As much as I said Phillip Island was, it's probably Phillip Island's the favorite one that I've raced on.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially Phillip Island, you going down the straight, you got the ocean there. You can see the ocean, you can smell all the ocean water. That's a big thing for me because I love the ocean as well. I do a lot of water sports. But yeah, just the track feels good to drive. It feels comfortable. It feels fast. That's what makes it for me.
And when you're feeling good and you're going into a race and you're fully prepared, but then there comes a moment where it becomes a little bit high pressure. It becomes like, the big moments, as Sandy Brondella, a former guest, said, the big moments, and she now thrives on them. How are you with the big moments? Are you a thriver right now, or are you like, I haven't had this before, this is a little bit, I just have to improvise a little bit?
Yeah, well, certainly I haven't really had many of those before. I've had a couple, but real like, yeah, I love them because you always think, oh, I'm going to get something really cool out of this. So yeah, I don't really get scared or worried so much. I just go, oh, yep, this is going to be really good. I know what I can do with this kind of a deal. Um, so yeah, the big moments in motorsports definitely, it's what everyone watches for, and it's not really what we drive for as drivers. We just love it either way. But yeah, certainly I love the big moments, as I'm sure most other drivers would as well.
Do you get nervous before a race?
Yeah, if anyone says they don't get nervous, they're either lying or they just don't care enough about the sport. Definitely, because you got to take that appreciation of what we're about to do. You're going into a car that goes to 290 kilometers an hour, banging wheels with people. It is fast and hard stuff. So for sure, you get nervous, but you don't let it drag you down. You use it. Deep breaths, visualize what you're going to do at the start. That's one of the big things for me is visualizing a lap. But yeah, definitely get nervous. Any driver will get nervous, and as I say, if they don't, they're lying.
And then what about superstitions?
I don't really have many superstitions as per se, but definitely there's things that I do that I believe that I have to before I get in the car. So always listen to music. I don't know if you've seen the movie Days of Thunder. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, yeah, yep.
Yeah, Days of Thunder. So I actually listened to the opening, the main theme from that song from that movie before I get in the car. So that's a little kind of little weird thing that I've got. But it just gets me in the zone. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it works. And then yeah, just visualizing is one of my big things. But yeah, not really a superstition, as you say.
Yeah, and the visualization, does that come from the team that's helped you around the tools, the mental tools, I suppose? And what the race is so long. What are you visualizing in your head? Are you visualizing the turn, the whole lap, the whole race? What are you visualizing?
Yeah, so generally I visualize what I'm going to do at the start. when you're around other cars, you want to visualize a couple of different ways that you can navigate things so that you can be as ready as possible. But other than that, visualizing the whole lap, making sure I remember where all my marks are, make sure I remember what I need to do essentially. And yeah, it comes from the team around me. It's a hard thing to do to sit there, shut everything else out and just focus on the track. So one thing that I tend to do is I'll put my headphones on and have a video of me doing a lap going. So I've got the sound, but obviously I close my eyes so I can't see. That helps to just lock me into the car and nothing else. But yeah, it definitely comes from the team around me. And yeah, it's a full lap essentially.
A full lap. And do you watch the races that you've raced in quite a lot? Like, is there something which you kind of look back? I mean, I listen to my old podcasts and I go, oh, that was, I've improved a lot from that. But it's not something I do constantly. What about you? Do you go back and watch the footage?
Yeah, definitely. So at the end of every race, we have end of every session, we have a debrief of the team. So yeah, always looking at video, always looking at data, always seeing what you can do better, seeing what you did well is a big thing as well. So yeah, definitely. And even when I'm at home, sometimes I just watch it back because it's good to keep your mind fresh of what things you need to work on are. Because yeah, it's definitely one of, if not the biggest part of the driving component.
Do you watch your wins more than your losses?
Not necessarily, to be honest. I just watch them all, honestly.
Yep.
Obviously, I enjoy watching the ones where I win more because I'm like, oh, remember the feeling, crossing the line, that feeling that goes through you, like goosebumps or that kind of thing. But you probably get more out of watching the ones where you don't. As I said before, you learn more out of the ones that you lose. So similar thing there. You definitely get more out of watching the ones that you lost.
We talked about 2025, but let's talk about the bigger goals, I suppose. Are you a goal setter per se, or are you sort of running in the dark somewhat, but knowing where the path might end up? Is there something that is chipping away at the back of your brain, the big, hairy, audacious goal?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely a goal setter. Definitely got goals. I want to compete in the Le Mans 24 hour. That's my goal. Hopefully, being there within 5 or 6 years is the goal. It's definitely a hard thing to get to, so I'm giving myself a lot of time. Obviously, I'd love to be there tomorrow if I could, but it's one of those things where you need to have the experience to back you. Like I could end up there next year. You just don't know. Don't know how it's all going to pan out, but that's my goal, is to race at Le Mans and compete in the World Endurance Championships. As I was saying before, yeah, the international endurance racing's caught my eye ever since I was about 5 years old. So I want to progress through that.
Now, for the listeners out there that don't know what the international endurance racing is, can you describe what that is?
Yeah. So essentially, it's races with different lengths. So obviously, the Le Mans race is 24 hours long. You've got ones like Spa, for example, that are 6 hours long. You've got 8 hours, 12 hours. And there's heaps of endurance races that aren't in that World Endurance Championship category. There's just random ones. So, for example, the Bathurst 12 hour is one that my team competed in this year, did really well, that I want to do next year. Then you got ones like the Nürburgring 24 hour, Spa 24 hours. So there's different lengths going around. But yeah, essentially you have 3 or 4 drivers per car, depending on the length of the race. And you each do stints. Stints can be anywhere from half an hour to 2.5 hours. It honestly just depends on how the team wants to run it and how you're coping as a driver. One of the big things for those endurance races is muscle cramps. A lot of drivers end up getting cramps and then they have to get out of the car. But yeah, that's essentially that's a breakdown of the endurance racing. There's a lot more strategy involved. There's a lot more cars on track and a lot more drivers. So it's more complex, I think, than what the sprint racing is, because you've just got one driver and they might come in and change tyres and you go. Obviously, it's all still hugely complicated and hugely intense, but I think the endurance racing adds a whole other layer.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that endurance racing. I mean, how do you? I mean, obviously magnesium and all these other things you have to the vitamins, etc., for cramps and whatnot. Just lost my train of thought. Sorry about that.
All good. That is all good.
That's all right. We'll give this a little bit of a few seconds, and I'll get it back again. I was in the moment talking about the endurance racing.
And like magnesium, muscle
cramps. No, I got it. No, I got it. Okay. Yep. Yeah. And Alex, you mentioned the word team a couple of times, but it's also an individual sport. And so there's individual and team. How's the balancing act going?
Yeah, so as much as it is individual and team, it is still a huge team effort. I wouldn't be driving out of the pits without the mechanics. I wouldn't be able to improve without the engineers and the mentors. So while everyone sees, oh, that driver is doing really well, it's not just him. Yeah, you got the team behind you. That's one of the most important things. Having a good team that has faith in you, believes in you, and is willing to work with you is a huge, huge, huge part of it. But yeah, that's essentially really what it is. It's not just yourself, but you get most in touch with the team when you come into the pits. Like when you're on the track, at that point, it's kind of all on you, especially in the races. It is all on you. You know, you're the one driving. But then, yeah, as you come into the pits, do a drive change tires. That's where the team element comes in during the race. And then obviously the debrief is where it all happens as well.
Now, Alex, I'm going to deep dive into your life a little bit. We do this thing called the Scoreboard moment, which is a moment in your life which is pretty vivid. It's almost like taking a photo and you're like, I remember that so clearly. And then from that moment on, things change, or you acted differently, or did some behavioural differences, and your life's kind of sliding doors moment changed forever. What's your Scoreboard moment, Alex?
Yeah, so I remember, yeah, it's just very well. I remember being at the arcade down at the Carindale Shopping Centre on one of the racing things. And there's actually a photo as well of me on one similar, but that's not the moment that I remember. I remember me doing it. It was a Mario Kart one. And I just remember me crashing into everything, crashing into everyone, just having a good time. And I think, yeah, at that point, I realized that was before all the Hot Wheels stuff that I said. And then from that point on, that's really where I started loving cars. But yeah, that's my biggest thing that I remember. That in my mind, that's how it all started. From that point on, the passion started to really burn, and then I got in the go kart. As you say, good 5 or 4 years later.
And did you jump on the Switch? Are you a good Mario Kart player per se?
I see. I like to think I am. But
Mm.
as you say, the competitive nature seeps into that. I like to think I'm pretty good at it. Generally, I beat most of my friends that I play with. So yeah, I think I'm all right at it. I don't want to say I'm really good at it, but no, I think I'm pretty. I think
Do you
I'm
think
pretty
there's
good.
this sort of inherent nature that you race cars for a living that you should be good at Mario Kart? And there's a bit of pressure on you to win the Mario Kart game?
I don't know about pressure, but it definitely helps you for sure. There's little things that you can do in Mario Kart, like following the right driving line and everything like that, which will help you a little bit. But
The
obviously,
lines,
you
okay.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, so you can like throw, there's all the other stuff as well. But yeah, following the general racing line in Mario Kart's pretty good as well. So you know how if you watch Formula One, how they're all like right up close to the inside curbs, all up against the walls. That's kind of what you want to do in Mario Kart as well.
And then when you get your little special thing that you can shoot out, what do you hold it? Do you go straight away? What do you do?
If there's one of my mates directly in front of me, I don't hold it for a second. I straight away throw it at him. But nah, yeah, it's similar to Uno. How I kind of, if I'm in a good spot, I hold it until I need it. But if I'm in a sticky situation, I'll use it straight away so I can go straight to the next one. Because obviously you get the power ups through those little boxes as you drive around.
Another question that I ask is about your favourite all-time sporting moment, and this is not going to be hitting your mate in Mario Kart. Well, it might be, but there's lots to choose from. But Alex, your favourite all-time sporting moment?
Yeah, I'm torn between two here to be fair, but well, probably the one that would take second would be when the Aston Martin Valkyrie, the hypercar, when they put that out on track for the first time, and I remember scrolling through and watching all the videos of how good it sounded. I remember that. I think that's one of the biggest moments that there's been in a while. But if I'd have to choose one, it'd be Formula One, 2021, the final race of the championship where Max won the championship. I think that whole year is probably one of the biggest in Formula One with the way that everything panned out. But yeah, the drama that came from that race, and I remember watching it at whatever the time was, like 1 a.m. or something, waking up my mum and dad because I was screaming. I think that's got to be the biggest one that I can think of, other than like the wins at Le Mans for all the teams and everything like that. I think that's it. I think that takes the cake.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it was just probably around the time the Netflix series started as well, I suppose. And do you get into your Netflix series, Drive to Survive?
Yeah, I like it. It's actually interesting to see how Netflix twists some things, to be fair. I do watch it. I do really enjoy it. But yeah, so the Netflix series was out for a good 3 years. I know, 2018, 19. Yeah,
Yeah,
a
it would have
couple of
been
years
3 years in.
before.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, 3 years in. But yeah, I definitely do watch it because I love anything motorsport, so I'll always watch it. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see how they twist some things that aren't really that big of a deal, like rivalries between drivers when they're not really a thing. But no, it's a really good show. It's brought a lot of eyes to the sport, it's particularly so Formula One, which is huge. So definitely, I watch it and I love it.
Now, I love putting competitive, high-performing professional athletes on the spot, and I do this thing called the Scoreboard Scramble. It's where you need to spell a word backwards. Now, it's related to one of our former podcast guests, and so I take it in little snippets and keep the trend going. One of the guests that I interviewed yesterday was Rupert McCall, who's a very acclaimed and famous sports poet, and Rupert is a staunch Queenslander and has written poems about Queensland. So I'm going to give you a word, and in 15 seconds, you're going to have to spell it backwards. Alex,
Okay.
The word is Queensland. Your time starts now.
Oh, geez. Okay. So DNALS. Yeah. NEE. UQ.
Oh, UQ at the end, like the University of Queensland. And I think, look,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I actually didn't even write it down. So I'm just guessing that you just did that because I
I
should
hope
have
that
had
I
it in
got
my
it
screen.
right.
I should have had it in my
Yeah.
screen going tick, 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 but I actually ran out of time in preparation for this podcast to do that. So I think you nailed it. So I hope you did.
Okay, I'd hope so because I support me and my mum and dad. We all support Queensland and the state of origin. So I hope I got it right.
Well, we'll go back to the what do they call the video replay on that if you did.
Yeah, we'll go back to the
that was a
VAR.
pretty good effort, nonetheless, on the spot because my brain would go DLS something. No, I'm done, tapped out. So
yeah,
so well
it's
done.
pretty difficult to do those things, to be honest. Lucky it's a word that I say a lot and know. So
there you go. Well, yeah, the next one. So the next guest is going to have to be one of your favourite sporting moments. So I might have to go back to the 2021 F1 as well and do that. Formula One.
I think you should be really cruel. You should be cruel and tell him to spell Verstappen backwards. That'd be really difficult. I don't even think I could do that.
But what about Ricardo?
Yeah, you could do Ricardo. All of them are pretty hard, to be honest. But yeah, definitely.
Okay. I'll give Le Mans a go. SNAMEL. I reckon I've nailed that. But anyway, off the top of my head,
I don't think so.
Pretty easy.
No, maybe
now.
I don't know. I forgot what you said, to be fair.
Now, Alex, one final question you're only 18, so it's amazing doing a podcast with you, and thank you for sharing that. But someone a little bit younger than you, maybe in their teens or maybe growing up, that wants to be a professional race car driver in all different forms, what's some advice you want to give them?
The main advice that it seems underlying, but you've just got to keep working as hard as you can. But the way that I would start is definitely just get into go-karts. It gets you the feel for racing with other people, gets you the feel for driving. Start getting sponsorship early. Start working on that from right when you start karting. Even if you've got the money for the next few years, building up that support network around you is huge. It's huge. So that's probably the main piece of advice that I would give. And alongside that, just take the negatives as a positive. Don't let them get you down. Because as I say, it's a huge mental game. So, staying sharp in the head is one of the most important things you can do. So get sponsorship young, start in karting, and just keep working. And don't let things phase you. Don't let people get in your head, because a lot of that happens, especially around the track. Like I know it. You walk around and some of the other drivers talk to you and just say little things to try and take stabs at you. You just got to block it all out.
Alex Gardner, it's been a pleasure to have a chat to you today. Congratulations on what you've achieved thus far at such a young age and the wins that you've had, and all the best for 2025 and potentially the next 20 years, as you said, as a professional race car driver. I wish you all the best. Thanks for catching up and looking forward to sharing and following your progress.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.